Thank you very much. I remember when I applied to have a master's degree at SOAS, School of Oriental and African Studies. Professor Yap, who was the head of the department in that time, he asked me, you know, usually Arab students apply for master's degree for two reasons. Either to find a job, or actually they already have a job and they want to frame the degree on the living room there as a show off. But you are neither of those. You have a good job and you don't ask about you are not sort of show off person. So why do you want to apply for a master's degree? I said, for a single reason. I want to learn from you. How do you appear in television as English people? Very cool, very reasonable. While our people, when they appear in television, they are shouting, screaming, and so definitely there is something in your education. So I did my master's degree, but I never changed. It didn't work. So I am really privileged to talk after two very distinguished speakers. So not many left to me. One a very respectable academic, the other is a friend, Tim, and very also experienced broadcaster. He got huge experience with the BBC and the media. So I will speak not about the distortion of the messages. I will speak about the killing of the messenger, the way to assassinate the character of people like me, who try to penetrate the Western media, especially BBC, Sky News, ITV. Where shall I start? When I started actually appearing in television, it was Sky News in that time. It seems they don't have people. It was the war of Kuwait. They don't know anything about Kuwait in that time. And even the people here did know nothing about Sky News because not everybody got a satellite. So I was a permanent resident there. So calling me every time, so I go speak about Kuwait, about Iraq with my broken English, with my Arabic accent, very heavy, strong Arabic accent. So until I start to feel the heat, especially when they ask me to talk about Palestinian question, Arab-Israeli conflict. And I remember one day there was a producer, I wouldn't name him, I don't want to put you in trouble. So he said to me, Barry, he said, yes. He said, do you want to be famous? I was young with afro hair and I said, yes, I would like to be famous. He said, do you like to capture the news, the headlines of tomorrow papers? You will be a star. I said, yeah, please. He said, look, tonight we have a debate. And your opponent is al-Arabi from Hirut, which is very, very right-wing Israeli organization, Menahem Begin party. I said, yes, great. He said, when the discussion is heated. I said, yes. And I was really very, very excited. He said, usually you put a glass of water in front of you. I said, yes. He said, immediately, this ugly man, this horrible man, throw the glass of water in him. Shower him with the water. And tomorrow it will be the headlines. I said, really? He said, yes. He said, and do you want me? I said, yes, you are perfect to do it. And I want you to be famous. I said, okay, I will. But I have other idea. He said, yes. He said, why don't you ask him to throw the water in me? He said, no, you. I said, no, he can't do it. He's better than me. And then, he never invited me again to his program. So it didn't work for him. Again, I start to appear on a program, Dateline London, in regular terms. It seems they liked me there. So very passionate, As I said, the master's degree didn't affect me, didn't cool me down at all. So every time I do appear, there is a complaint. And one complaint from a prominent Haifa professor, Haifa University, a professor in Haifa University. Every time this Abdel Bari Atwan is a terrorist, he's supporting terrorism, and he actually using the BBC, and every time, literally every time. Other thing,
Also, people writing to the BBC, he shouldn't be alone. There should be an Israeli pundit with him. He cannot be the only Middle East in the panel. Okay, but we are talking about sometimes rubbish thing. For example, Gordon Brown budget or something like that. So, so we said, no, we must have an Israeli. Anyway, so the BBC, because they are impartial and they are very caring about their reputation, they carried investigation. First, about the programs I participated in to see whether I am actually a terrorist supporting terrorism. And second, to interview or to meet this Haifa University professor. They discovered that I wasn't actually supporting terrorism, thank God. And second, they didn't find this Haifa University professor, non-existent. So just keep writing in order to kick me out of the program. I'm telling you, those people in the BBC are terrorized by these emails campaigns. Every time I do appear, honestly, they are terrorized. Every time I do appear, hundreds of emails going to them. I can see the producers are really shivering. Okay, you handle it. Now we will have plenty of emails. You talk to the management. You answer that. Immediately, you can see how really terrorized they are. Anyway, so it happened. I interviewed Osama bin Laden. And later I wrote a book about al-Qa'ida. I discovered how they are trying actually to scale down my appearances on the BBC. 11th of September, I was told by BBC insider, we have friends there. Yeah. So I was told that the Israeli embassy conduct a study about Middle Eastern bandits. And they discovered that the most influential one is Abdel Bari Atwan. Because people believe him, he's spontaneous, he's talking not very well, but at least people listen to him. So they decided to actually use tricks in order to prevent me from appearing. If you remember, in our early days, we Palestinians, we used to refuse to appear with Israelis on television. But we realized that it was a mistake. Why shall we leave it for them? We should participate and we should talk, we should debate, we should argue. So we decided to do so. They decided, that no Israeli official should appear with Abdel Bari Atwan. Because whoever appears with Abdel Bari Atwan will lose. That's the conclusion. How I discovered that? I discovered that after 11th of September, as I said, because I interviewed the leader of al-Qa'ida, and also I said this is definitely, or most likely, the fingerprints of al-Qa'ida. I'm talking about 11th of September attacks on the World Trade Center. So I was well known. I was very famous. My lines were very busy. We have 10 lines in our newspaper, and everybody on earth wanted to interview me because I interviewed Osama bin Laden. I spent 3 days with him in his caves in Tora Bora. So I was, very, very busy. And remember one day, because there were about 40 journalists and cameras in front of my office. And I had to actually leave my office from the back door as if I am Madonna. So in that time, BBC invited me, BBC Newsnight. They phoned me, David Sells, veteran David Sells. He said, Barry, we would like you to be part of our discussion, tonight. I said, okay. So I said, shall we send you a car? I said, no, I don't know where I will be. I'm nomadic nowadays from a station to another station. So, every dog has his days. So it is my days nowadays. So I said, I will come by myself. So I went to the BBC. Imagine, literally, everybody wanted me. Everybody, literally, every television station. So I went to Newsnight. It is a respectable program. I went there, and I found a lady was in the reception waiting for me. Mr. Atwan? I said, yes. I said, sorry, we actually changed the format of the program. Why? I said, no, we don't want you, but BBC World would like to have you. I said, look, everybody wanted me, but I came here for Newsnight. I said, no, we changed the format. What happened? So I left. I went home. I put on television, Newsnight, and who was there? Benjamin Netanyahu. Mm-hmm. Imagine Benjamin Netanyahu talking about al-Qaeda, and I am the expert of al-Qaeda, the one who interviewed Osama bin Laden, the one who is everybody wanted him, and I was bombarded by call for 3 months continuously. They dropped me because Netanyahu doesn't want to appear with Abdel Bari Atwan. And he was the star of the program, talking about the connections between al-Qaeda and the Palestinian terrorists and something like that. I said, okay. And they brought somebody from the Middle East and who doesn't know anything about al-Qaeda, and he was just smiling all the time. That's it. Okay. 3 days later, or 4 days later, again, I was invited by the BBC. Or 5 days later. I said, maybe, the same program, Newsnight. I thought maybe, it's, now they realize their mistake and they want me, I am the star. So I went there to the BBC, the same thing. The same lady said, Mr. Atwan, we are terribly sorry because, we changed the format of the program, so we don't need you. Said, second time? Said, sorry. So you can't argue with them. So I left, I was really furious this time. So again, put on my television, and who was there? Ehud Barak. Seriously, Ehud Barak. And another Palestinian, again smiling, just the man. So they decided, literally, they decided not to have any Palestinian who actually can communicate with the people because they want their own side of the story. So this is how it is happening. Recently at Newsnight again, I will just jump to other channel just to finish with the Newsnight. It seems I wrote an article about Libya and NATO involvement in Libya. And it seems Jamie Baxman liked my article. So it was on Saturday issue of The Guardian. Thank God for The Guardian, who hosting people like me. So Monday, he invited me to appear in his program, Newsnight. Who was there? Bernard Levy. Yeah, the great Bernard Levy, he was there. And he started talking how, he actually went to Benghazi, which is good. Libyans were about to be massacred, which is, bad. And he was there and he phoned Sarkozy, saying to him, you have to intervene to stop, to help those people and to prevent a massacre, which is fascinating. And, he did a fantastic job. Okay. I said to him, Mr. Levy, he said, I hope you go to Gaza. And also ask for actually no-fly zone for the people there. I am a Gazan. And I hope you did go in 2008, December 2008, when the Israelis started to use phosphoric bombs against my people there. And, you could help them. 3 weeks of bombardment. So no-fly zone would be a good idea to the Gazan there. I said, no, they don't deserve no-fly zone. They are ruled by terrorist organization, Hamas. I said, is it, a license to kill about 2 million people simply because they are ruled by Hamas? He said, Hamas is a terrorist organization. So Jeremy Baxman has to interfere. And so this is coming to Gaza. I was really amazed when Gaza was bombarded. Again, talking about the BBC. I thought, as a refugee from Gaza, I will be there, permanently there, talking about the other side of the story. So what struck me, I was not invited at all to the BBC, while the Israeli ambassador was a resident on the BBC building. He was a resident there, appearing in every programs, talking about how the Palestinians are terrorists and how the Israeli people are terrorized by the Palestinians. Imagine that. Gaza is bombarded. About 60,000 houses were actually either demolished or, or actually affected by that. And 1,400 people were killed. 600 of them were children. And the Israeli ambassador was there. And our side of the story was not there. I asked the Palestinian ambassador here, who was a very nice man, Dr. Hassasian. I said, have you been invited? He said, no. So it does tell you, the bias, not only on the coverage, but also they don't want our voices to be heard. That's the most dangerous thing. They are talking about impartiality. Where is the impartiality here? That's what we are really suffering from that. And the email They are trying to, as I said, character assassination, trying to, wherever we go, we found them demonstrating against us. I'll show you something. I was invited by London School of Economics to talk about the Israeli lobby in the United States. And I was very careful. Imagine that. They created a problem in order to actually, to smear myself and, my character. So every week, they call me anti-Semitic. I am the Palestinian who is the victim of anti-Semitism. They called me anti-Semitic. And they try to put it everywhere in order to say, no, he is anti-Semitic. And the police is investigating the incident of anti-Semitism. Investigating. I never been asked by the police about it. I never been interviewed by the police. And every week, to show you, literally, this is the Jewish Chronicle. I never had a front page, picture in my life. Here, Victoria. How was this hate fist allowed on campus? This is the Jewish Chronicle. The front page of the Jewish Chronicle. As if, I don't know, wallah, even Hitler wouldn't have this coverage. And every week, police investigating. I said, my God, what kind of police? Is it the Filipino police? And British police investigating? But never happened again. So the campus now, they are monitoring the campus. They are budgeting about $600 million in order to actually launch campaigns against people who speak up, like all of us here. That's the problem. And they want to silence us forever. They managed to penetrate, the think tanks, like Brookings Institute, for example. Nobody is allowed, if he has a slight criticism of Israel, he is not allowed to be there. Same thing in the papers. People scared to write about it. And Gaza coverage. I was shocked. I remember when Mugabe was criticized by this country. I remember John Simpson managed to penetrate the border illegally, entered actually Zimbabwe, and he was sending every day reports about how Zimbabwe is very bad, how Mugabe is very bad. When it comes to Gaza, where are those courageous journalists? They were about 3 kilometers away from Gaza with their, anti-polit jackets and covering the war from there. None of them dared to say this is unfair. We have to be there to see the people who are killed, who are massacred by the Israeli bombardment from sea, from air, from lands, everywhere. Nobody. The media actually, how they actually accepted that. Until now, there are people. Even Saddam Hussein allowed the media to get in and to cover the war. So even Gaddafi is, having journalists in the brutal Gaddafi in Tripoli. Afghanistan, you have journalists there and who are covering the war there. But when it comes to Gaza, because they don't want the truth to come out, this is the problem which we are facing. It is not impartiality, it is bias toward the Israeli. And I'm glad when President Obama in his speech to AIPAC, he said, the media revolution and social networking are the most important new enemies of the censorship and the propaganda and suppression of the truth. And he said to the Israeli, if you continue to do that, you wouldn't be actually able to defend yourself. Time is changing. The whole world is changing, and you are not changing. I hope they are listening, and I hope they turn to peace, and I hope they make peace before we are heading toward a huge disaster. Thank you very much.